Hi guys, welcome to XtraTalk, another session. Last week we were talking about certain things, and what do you know? A couple of days later, so many things, so many changes. We have so much to talk about. I said it last time, but this time it might be even worse or even more. I don't know if we can manage this again within an hour, so you guys have to talk like really fast. No, I'm just joking. Let's see how it goes, guys. Let's have fun with it. Let's start. I want to start actually with Alvarez Schreuder, guys. Yesterday presentation, through the Ajax TV, there was an interview. Very interesting things. He was asked a couple of questions, how he sees things, and of course, he remained a little bit like he didn't tell you everything, but there were a couple of interesting points and quotes from him. I'm wondering how you guys perceived his interview, and what's your impression of his interview? What are the quotes or things he said? Like, wow, this is interesting to know. I want to give it to Ravish, our guest, just to start off with. So Schreuder yesterday.
Well, I found it a really interesting interview he gave. He was really open. What surprised me was that he was talking about several positions inside the squad and the team. He was talking about the replacement of Mazraoui. Also talked about the future of Nico, that Nico would possibly leave the club. What surprised me more was the fact that he was talking about to give more freedom to the players and want to have open relationships with them. I think that's a good point, because with Ten Hag, you could read in the Telegraaf that there were certain problems in the beginning. Ten Hag and the squad needed to find each other. And Schreuder is already open about his philosophy and way of how he wants to work with his squad. So that surprised me. But it was a good interview. Of course, every first interview is always good because you want to present yourself as the new trainer. But yeah, it gives a good start. A good start, definitely.
Yeah, EyeJax, what do you feel about Alvarez Schreuder's first interview?
First of all, very happy that the level of baldness stays the same at the club because it's important. Those bald managers are really doing a good job at the moment. So, but on a serious note, he seemed quite relaxed for me in this interview. And the key points for me also were compared to Ten Hag. Ten Hag is known as somebody who wants to do it his way, very perfectionist. And Schreuder was talking about more. It's a team effort. Everybody has to be in their strengths. This is something totally different than Ten Hag because he wanted to do all the things himself the way he wants it, like have control, a little bit of a control freak. And with Schreuder, it's the total opposite, at least what he's saying in the interview. And also what struck me is that he was talking about that he learned a lot from Koeman and from other jobs the last 2 years with trying to get to know the person behind the player. And this is something important. So we can make out of that he's like a people manager, or he wants to try to be a people manager. And this is important because he's stating that all the players at Ajax are there for a certain reason, because they have a certain quality. And maybe that it doesn't work with certain players because the person behind the player is not well known by the manager. So he wants to put effort in this. This is kind of an open style of managing, and I'm very curious how this will unfold in the future. Those were interesting things besides the things that Ravish mentioned. And I'm looking forward to how he's going to perform at the club.
Yeah, you guys touch upon a lot of good points already. Sahbi, anything to add to that, or do you have the same points?
No, I have some additional points which I thought were really surprising. Now, first of all, Schreuder comes over as a very calm person, like a very open, and like the opposite of what Ten Hag is. Ten Hag is more of a dominant person, like a real teacher, and Schreuder comes over like he's chill, like very open. That was very different to see, but also nice. But what I found very very interesting is when he mentioned that he has full confidence in the people who buy the players for squad, and that it's up to the coach to work with these players. So it looks like, or it seems like he won't, or he doesn't have a say, or something in that corner, in which player should come to Ajax. So that was very interesting to hear that, because Ten Hag was a coach who really wanted to have a say. He actually had some sort of a veto within Ajax, together with Overmars. If one of those two weren't convinced, they wouldn't get that player. But during this interview, he really said, like, okay, I trust the scouting, I trust the directors of football, and every player who comes in, we will try to manage those in the team. So that was surprisingly to hear. Next to that, what I liked as well is that he mentioned that nobody is bigger than the club.
Yeah.
So he won't hesitate at all to put some key players on the bench if they don't listen, if they don't commit, because that's his key word. He wants commitment. We saw that already at Club Brugge, where he benched Noah Lang, the best player of Club Brugge, because he didn't commit to the squad, to the team, to the objectives. So he's quite straightforward from that perspective. And lastly, what I found very interesting is his ambition to win the Champions League. I mean, that's a huge thing to say. And normally you would say you would try to get as far as possible in the Champions League, or to advance in the second stage of the Champions League. No, he was quite clear about that. Like, he wants to reach the highest level, and that's always good to hear.
I found it a stupid saying that he wants to win the Champions League, because you should definitely first need to know how your squad will be, and of course you can have ambition. He worked at Barcelona. He worked as an assistant, so he was working in the top is. But to pronounce now that you want to win the Champions League, and it might backfire you when you don't even survive the group stage. So I think he would. Best way would have say, I want to be successful with Ajax. Want to go for the title, and everything else what comes up, like we might get into the finals, we might win the Champions League. That would be an amazing extra. But a little bit humbleness would be better in this case, I think, for a first interview.
How much of a humble? Just a question. How much can we be humble as Ajax? I mean, this is typical Ajax interview also, in my view. Maybe you guys disagree with me, but of course it's a big stretch, to win the Champions League. But I think he also started the interview by saying that I don't want to sound arrogant, but in general, he was talking in general first for him. He wants to reach the highest that possible. And now that he's at Ajax, the ambition is something else than really doing it. You know what I mean? You should strive for the best, and that really fits the Ajax philosophy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
No, I mean, it's not an objective. I mean, it's not an objective to win the Champions League. It's an ambition. So you can always speak that out, because you want to reach the top. I mean, we in 18-19, we almost reached the final. So there's no reason why we can't reach it with a bit of luck. But it will never be the objective to win the Champions League. That will be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Coming back also to the management, you guys commented also about his style of managing. Very interesting for me was that he was talking about adding a lot of variety to it. You guys, I think you guys mentioned that already, but also adding Matthias Kaltenbach from Hoffenheim into the mix. And he explained why he thinks he's added value to the team. What do you guys thought of his explanation about that?
I think it was quite smart of him. He was telling in the interview that he wants to have everybody in their strength, and maybe he knows from his own strengths. He was saying that in the video that it is maybe not his best asset doing the attacking stuff. And I've heard some good things about this Matthias. So I think it's very smart from him to bring in a coach, a modern kind of coach that can do that part for the team. He's 38 years old, and he's still a lot of more years ahead of him to do the coaching. So he maybe is a little bit more modern, and I think this is important. So I think it's quite smart of Schreuder to surround him with people that can be like a value for him, and that have a different skill set than he has himself. So I'm happy with that.
But why? What do you think about the fact that Bogarde has left the club, because I think that Bogarde and Reiziger together had also a big contribution last season to the team. And Bogarde was also really loved in the squad by several players. So I think I can understand that he wants to have the people around him he can trust. He knows what their strengths are, but it's also good to have players from the club or people from the club who can also add the Ajax value to the squad.
I agree. Only with Bogarde, it's a bit different. I got this feeling, but it's speculation from my side, that it was an opportunity for them to ditch him because of personal stuff that came up also.
I think
And
so,
not only this, they made up the argument or excuse. We have speculation from my side that he's too big of a personality to fill in another role within the club. So
with your Ajax.
Yeah, and the thing is with a new coach, I think the new coach should have the liberty to choose his own staff. And making Michael Reiziger continue his job and sacking or not continuing it, Bogarde is thinking for me it's a mix of those three things, you know. And what it is exactly, I do not know, but I got this gut feeling that every aspect that I mentioned is part of the final decision to not continue with him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Sahbi, where do you stand in this? You know, of course, we're switching Bogarde for Kaltenbach. We don't know Kaltenbach, but like Ravi said, Bogarde is Ajax. You know, he knows the value of Ajax. He's been a player of Ajax. He knows Ajax. Players were also happy with him, what he brought, you know, in terms of defensive. I think Schreuder benefited a lot from him as well. So, yeah, where do you stand in this? Do you understand? I mean, do you also have to separate yourself sometimes from those feelings, you know, of having an Ajax coach and maybe think a little bit different?
I think I agree a bit more with what EyeJax mentioned. There should be something behind all of this, because Kaltenberg was brought in because of the variety that he can bring in the attack, whilst Bogarde has that same strength, only defensive-wise. He also from personal perspective, as you already said, Schreuder benefited a lot with what Bogarde taught him. So why losing such player? Perhaps he was a dominant person within the training staff. It might be possible because players liked him, but maybe within the training staff, the coaching staff, there were a bit of issues. But in my view, I think it's unfortunate that he left. I mean, I like him a lot. I like that the strength, the dominance that he brings in, that poison that he brings in the defense. I mean, we saw Schreuder at the beginning at Ajax. He was like a bear, a cuddling bear, teddy bear. And when Bogarde really worked with him, he became like more strict, more harsh, more not smiling anymore during the game.
He prevented the smile. That was fun. That was real fun.
So,
but
so wait, did he transform from a small bear to a full bear, or is he in a progress?
Well, not a full bear. That's obvious, but he is more than a teddy bear right now. So that's at least a thing.
But in all seriousness, guys, even if Bogarde has 3 more years with Schreuder, he will never be a grizzly bear, because
I would say
it's mission impossible. Maybe Tom Cruise can help him, but even Bogarde cannot do that.
I would say he's a little koala bear.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, look, it's like you guys said, it's speculation. We don't know what's behind it, but it's not a bad thing, you know. The way that going back to the interview, the way that he brought it, you know, about bringing in Kaltenbach, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely. I think it's very smart, and like somebody said, also we already have defensive-minded players and coaches in the staff. So I think it's smart that you bring in somebody whose specialty is doing attacking stuff. So there's more of a balance, and it's very smart by our new head coach that he just knows that this is a vacancy within the team that it needs to be filled. And I think it's smart that already they know that he will be coming, so he will be there from the beginning of the season, and they can work towards an end goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be also a good thing, or maybe it sounds a little contracted what I want to say with Bogarde, but he's from outside the club. So he doesn't know everything about the club. So he can be really objective about how things are going. Of course,
Yeah.
Schreuder knows the club, worked with the club for maybe 1.5 years.
Yes.
Like that. So it could be also have a new view on things. What Schreuder might say, hey, you're right. Didn't thought about that. So
Yeah.
it's either way.
Yeah, like I said, fresh perspective. It
Yeah,
doesn't
fresh
hurt.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to move to a different session. Like a different question, and it's about the interview as well, but it's more relying on the players specifically, individually. So there was a question about how he sees the team, and he touched upon the left back position, and he said, we know the situation about Tagliafico, that he wants to leave, of course. And he then touched upon we have Blind that can play that role, but we also have Blind that can play center back and also on the midfield. He said then midfield is for him is basically done. The midfield is good as a composition for him, the way he views it. And then he moved to the right back position. And it's funny because there he said we could look at that as well. But at the same time, and this was very interesting for me, he was saying like we also have to look at what we have and we have to give them a chance as well. I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, guys, but that's basically what he meant.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? About that particular moment when he talked about the players and looking maybe for reinforcements and looking at the players that we have? Do you guys agree that the left back, the way he said it, has more priority than the right back, Rafish?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I was really surprised he was so open about several key positions in the team. But I wasn't surprised that he said we would look further than what we already have, because Mazraoui is leaving a big gap, behind, and I think Rensch is too big, and I think Rensch is still too young and has his down moment at this time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are buying a right back outside of the club, because I don't see also in young Ajax at this moment a player who can stand right away. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he is looking for external options. But like I said before, I was really surprised he was so open about it, because normally coaches are keeping their cards against don't want to close to them. They don't want to go specific on certain cases, but he was real open.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you agree, EyeJax? Because the way he said it in the interview, it seemed like he wants priority more on the left side than the right side. Even though Ravish said that the right side is also where you guys are also were nodding your head. The right side, Mazraoui leaving, leaves a big gap as well. So how do you see that?
Juan, maybe I view it a little bit differently, because he's saying a lot, but he's not saying a lot, to be honest. Because he's saying, maybe we should look at something at the right side, but yes, we also have Rensch, and yes, we also have to give people some playing time. So what is he actually saying? Yeah. Does he want a new right back? Is he actually going to play those players and not get a right back? So for me, it's not that big of a statement yet. Maybe for the left back position a little bit more, but a lot of things in the interview were also a little bit of open doors and political correct answers, Also, a player, not any player is bigger than the club. Anybody can say that, but for me, I think it is his first day at the club. This interview is coming at the first day. He has to tell something towards the people and towards the interviewer, and he's just saying things that is within a certain spectrum that he can bring, But the weeks to come should give us more of an identity, what he wants for the club, what his views are for the club, and what his maybe his signings that he wants for the club, So for maybe this interview is a little bit too soon to actually give big statements.
So in your view, I will go to you in a bit, Ravish. So in your view, we shouldn't really dissect too much behind what he's saying. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the calmness that he was showing within the interview, and also the style that he wants to implement at the club, like the management style, more of an open style, giving players a little bit more, how do you say this? A little bit more to say within the group, responsibility, and maybe a say in certain stuff, and that he wants to put everybody in their strength, and it's a team effort. you can dissect that a little bit, because this is his style that he wants to continue with, and this is totally different from the style of Ten Hag, because he was like a perfectionist. He wants to do everything his way, and people helping him, and more of an alpha dog kind of way, you know. And this is something important that you can dissect from the interview, but you should also be a little bit cautious with this, in my opinion, because he came over for me as a really nice guy, maybe a people person, but you should be cautious that you will not be too open, because you're still the head coach of a club, you're still the manager, and you should be an authority figure. Not fully, you can be a little bit of both, but please do not be too open and too much like everybody has to say, let's just discuss it. No, also make the hard decisions, and also be that authority figure that is needed as a manager. And I hope that he does have that also. And that was a little bit difficult to subtract from that interview.
Okay, Ravish, you wanted to react on EyeJax, I think.
The only thing I wanted to say was that I was surprised that he called players by name. That's the only thing I was surprised about, because like Ajax says, no, you're a gentleman. You need to be cautious with what you're saying. But in a certain way, he put the pressure on Wrench that this is the moment that you need to show yourself. Otherwise,
he didn't call out Wrench his name.
He
did. Yeah,
did
he
he?
did.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
he did.
I missed that. I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
Yeah, so
did that.
that was the only surprise. But what Ajax told us in his saying, I totally agree.
Okay, Sabi, do you agree with EyeJax? We shouldn't really look too much into details, like what he's saying. You should look at like a broad perspective, take it in, and just see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Ajax on this. Although one point, and that worried me a bit, not a lot, a bit, with his statement that Blind can play as a number 6. In theory, he can. In theory, he can. But I made like there were some bad thoughts in my head coming up, thinking, well, they want Vandal going to the left back. They want to sell Alvarez, and then perhaps they want to fill in that gap with Blind. That was the first thing that came in my mind. I was a bit worried about that. But as EyeJax said, we need to see this more as a broad thing, and not really something that has been mentioned in a detailed manner. But I do have to say, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit worried.
Look, this is a perfect way to bridge. Yeah, this is a perfect way to go to the next question, because we're looking at incoming, we're looking at the squad, but at the same time, also looking at Haller, the sale of Haller, but also looking at what Mike Verwij, again, it's coming from a source, Mike Verwij from Telegraaf, saying that according to his sources as well, Haller could leave, which is happening right now, and Alvarez is open for sale as well if we get a good and decent offer, which is approximately 30 million euros. So these two are, can leave this summer. If we look at Timber, Anthony, Martinez, these hot, like transfer targets, we really set the amount very high at this moment, 50, 60 million, Anthony even higher.
The bar is high.
Yeah, the bar is very high because we don't want to sell them. Does this give away a little bit also, how Schreuder sees his team? Or we shouldn't look too much into it as well? I don't know. What do you guys think? Sabi, what do you think?
Well, it gives an idea. I mean, the fact that Alvarez is open for sale does definitely say something. I mean, perhaps Schreuder wants to go back to a midfield with players that aren't those breakers or that can really close the gap or conquer the ball. Perhaps he wants players in midfield that are having that technical functionality, players that can disrupt the passing lines of the opponent, but not really conquer the ball, like what Schöne and Frankie de Jong was. So maybe he has that type of thinking, or maybe he wants to play with 2 8s and a 10, like not really with a specific number 6, because otherwise I don't see any reason why Alvarez should be sold. The only thing that I could think of is perhaps the big amount that he's up for sale. And I can imagine.
Let me throw in something else, right? I want to ask EyeJax this, because you're mentioning an argument why this is the case. What about maybe they have a better replacement? We never thought about this, but maybe there's a better replacement that they have. They can cash in for 30 million and get someone in that maybe has Alvarez qualities, but also more technical qualities. Do you guys believe in that?
I believe in that.
No, I doubt that one, to be honest. I think that Alvarez is so underestimated by our fans and maybe also certain figures at the club. This guy has been pivotal for us, and I know like a season and a half ago, Ten Hag was struggling, and then in January window, he was bringing Alvarez and everything started clicking on the midfield. There was balance. And also, don't forget, he just solved so much dirty work for the team. And you see it with all the top clubs in Europe. They all have like that kind of player, one of those kind of players on the midfield to keep the balance. And yes, you can try to play attractive football, and I'm totally for that. But comparing that a lot of people do to the 18-19 season, that was a unique season. You won't find a player like Frenkie de Jong for 30 million because he could do it all. He could defend, he could recapture the ball, he could distribute the ball. He didn't need to give it to somebody else to let the play flow, And this is something that is difficult in our team at the moment. He is the only one within the team that has that certain skill set that Grinta also that is needed to bring in certain situations.
Yeah.
Also with Blind, for example, on the left side, Blind has a lot of flaws, but also great strengths like his passing. But you saw this season when Blind was progressing the play and was playing up high, Alvarez was always covering his ass because he's not that strong defensively. He's smart. He's not strong. He doesn't have like great leaping ability and win duels. But Alvarez was covering his ass all the time when he was going up front. And people tend to forget this. We are Ajax. We try to play beautiful football, and a lot of fans rather focus on his passing ability. That is not that great compared to others, instead of looking at his qualities, what he brings compared to other players. Because besides Martinez, maybe, who is a better passer actually, nobody in the team on that position can fill in like Alvarez does. And the people say like the Eredivisie, you can play with a lot of other players, but we were struggling a lot in the Eredivisie this season. And I understand because a lot of teams are going with 11 players around the box, and maybe an Alvarez player is maybe not that necessary at that point. But in Europe, you need a kind of player like that, and in the big matches. So for me, I wouldn't sell him for 30 million. No.
Yeah, Ravish, what's your point on this? Because exactly what Sabi, but also EyeJax are saying, a lot of people are referring to the technical capabilities of the midfield and also referring to the 18-19 season. We had Frenkie and Schreuder. Why shouldn't we go to that same team? Alvarez is great and we know what he can do, but it's not what we aspire to be. What would you say to that?
Well, football is evolving, and to 18-19 it was a unique season with Frenkie, but I had this morning a great discussion on Twitter together with EyeJax about the Alvarez, the fact that they are thinking so easily to let him go. Of course, Alvarez isn't the greatest in possession, but think about a Kanté. Think about the Eno we had in the past. Think about the Paulsen, Christian Paulsen in the past.
Yeah.
I still remember playing Paulsen against Van Bommel against PSV in Eindhoven. In maybe 5 minutes, 3 tackles, and Van Bommel was history during that match. So this type of player, Ajax needs those kind of players, because in the Eredivisie last season we played against Go Ahead Eagles, Heracles. There were teams that they want to fight against Ajax, and Ajax can't fight back. That's something that it's not in our DNA. So a player like Alvarez, you won't replace him one-on-one. I saw that Werder Bremen has a midfielder that Ajax seems to watch as a replacement for Alvarez, but no, 30 million it's a poor amount. You should go at least 35 a little higher to let him go, if you want to let him go.
Sabi, before you react quickly, also for our viewers, you have a little bit of lag, Ravish, with your audio. So I hope it solves itself. But just for our viewers, just to know that. But that's okay. We could hear you perfectly. Sahbi, what's your view on this? Same. Don't tell me you agree also, right?
No. I don't agree at all with both of them. I mean,
Okay.
I can't believe there wouldn't be any replacement for Alvarez available, a cheaper option. I mean, we're talking about Alvarez. He's doing a great job. He's doing well, but I can't and I won't believe there isn't another player that can take over his role who is cheaper. Because first of all, I would not mind keeping him. That being said, he has been very good for us in the last season. However, when an offer comes from 30 million, I can imagine Ajax would like to sell him. I mean, it's good business with huge profit for Ajax. I don't see his value will increase to 40 or 45. He is not. The point is his position, as defensive midfielder, is an undervalued position. Players like who play in that position don't get that recognition they normally should have. You have typical players like Kante, as you mentioned, Casemiro, but those play at top level, at top clubs. They are even internationals for their country who are playing at top level.
But he is.
So yeah, okay. And Mexico, I don't see Mexico as a top country, to be honest.
Wow.
No, I don't see it. I mean, we're talking about
statement you're making there, Sahbi.
No, I mean,
okay, so I hope our Mexican subscribers don't unsubscribe.
No, I mean, if I compare them with Brazil, if I compare them with France, do you consider Mexico better than France? Do you consider Mexico better than Brazil?
Yeah, but that's no comparison, man.
No, but I'm talking about players like Casemiro.
It's a decent squad. Don't underestimate them.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm not underestimating. What I'm trying to say is that these type of midfielders don't cost a lot in general. Those defensive midfielders. So 30 million would be a great deal. There are several players. I can give you an example. Enzo Fernandez playing at this moment at River Plate, currently going to Benfica, 18 million. He would be a perfect replacement for Alvarez if we have done that way earlier.
But
perhaps it would be even way cheaper. Just an example, The fact,
but we paid 12 million for him.
Yeah,
in,
exactly. 12 million, and you're selling it for 30. 80 million profit.
Sahbi, seriously, you have to take some things into the equation also. So maybe you get this Enzo Fernandez kind of type for 80 million. The time that the player needs to readjust and to establish themselves in Holland and try to fit in the team and trying to know the Ajax style of play. Alvarez is maybe not that passing kind of player, but he adjusted to our team and he fits now.
Exactly.
Something that you have to not forget also. He's been evolving his play also because he was difficult for us in certain situations also. Remember the Asset game when we were in the stalemate? Who was the one making the header and scoring the goal? 2 matches before that?
Okay.
And he hit the bar against Asset, He hit the bar also against Asset.
We have small players in the back and somebody who has the ability to head a ball. Not only does he win duels, he is physical. He closes the gaps. But look at his stats, man. He's winning so many duels at the midfield and also aerial ability. And this is something you do not have to forget. And you can bring somebody in for 80 million. So maybe you make 15 million profit. You get somebody for 80 million, and then you have to wait 6 months to a year to implement them again in your team.
Yeah, but
can I just say one thing? I want to add one thing to it. Something you can react just quickly. I want to add to what EyeJax said. I remember they had an interview with Den Haag the last season, and he was talking about because we conceded we didn't concede any goals almost in the first half of the season. It was crazy if you look at the Champions League and the Eredivisie combined. And part of what he said, I remember that interview very clearly. He said, it has to do with the center because everybody's looking at Timber and Martinez, rightfully so. They're doing amazingly. But he also said, do not take out of the equation what Alvarez does for the team as well. He's also part of that trio, that cartel that we mentioned. And
but he mentioned it.
That's the only thing I want to say. I do agree with Sahbi that there should be a cheaper option. And at 30 million, I love Alvarez, but 30 million for Alvarez is for me a good price to sell, but only if we can get somebody who's better potentially and who can also be technical, a little bit more competent. But what I also want to say is then I lean towards EyeJax and Ravish a little bit, and I say we're the only fan base, that concedes so few goals and have an amazing first half of the season. No, but Alvarez is not good enough on the ball, so we don't want him.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So, but you know what, guys? If you want to rely on a lot of ifs and buts, if you want to rely on a lot of ifs and buts, like a good price, and maybe there's somebody better out there. If you want to rely on those many ifs and buts instead of somebody who's already there, who still has rest value, who still has contract years left, it's not that he will be worth a lot less a year later, So if you want to rely on those many ifs and buts, go ahead. But I'd rather go for him in the squad and know what he's bringing. And I think he will be pivotal for us still.
And he's still happy with the club. It's not that he also told the board, I want to leave the club. No, he's happy. His family is already settled now after a couple of hard years. Yeah. So if there was any idea that he wants to leave the club, then you would say 30 million, adios.
But then I come and I want Sahbi to react. Then I come back to the original question. The fact that, again, we're going on what Mike Verwijs said, the fact that Alvarez could leave at 30 million, market price, they didn't say that nobody else is leaving this team, this first 11 or this squad, He said that if an offer comes for Alvarez, then Alvarez is the only one next to Haller. We'll touch up on Haller in a bit because he's leaving, but he can go. So what does that mean? In that sense, I already asked that question, Sahbi. Can we take away the fact that Alfred Schreuder thinks we can do better without Alvarez?
Can I finally react?
Yeah.
Finally? I waited so long. So
all yours.
No, but to get back to both Ravish and EyeJax, because I had also something to say. You were talking about adaptation. New player needs to adapt. Isn't that applicable for every player that comes to Ajax? I mean, it was the same with Neres. It went well. It went partially well. Anthony went well. So I can also give examples where players did adapt very quickly. And I've never said. Can I?
Yeah, okay, just react on that. If you look at our targets quickly, Brobbey knows Ajax. Bergwijn knows the Eredivisie. Wijndal plays in the Eredivisie. It's different than what they're saying because you get somebody from abroad. We don't have any We don't have any Eredivisie player right now that can do what Alvarez does. So that's a bit of a nuance.
No, exactly. But I'm just taking examples because they have taken examples as well, mentioning AZ as a game as AZ where Alvarez excelled, etc. I can name games where Schuurs excelled as well. Do you want him? Do you still want him in the starting 11? I don't think so. So you need to take things into perspective. You can't compare apples with oranges. Of course, Alvarez, I've already said that at the beginning. I would not mind keeping him. So I'm not saying sell him. I'm just saying, like, if you get such an amount, like 30 million, there should be a cheaper replacement. I mean, nobody thought about Alvarez when he came in, when he bought him for 12 million. Look how look how he's done. So why not another player who is cheaper? Because it's still a business. You can make good profit and then get another player who has the same characteristics, maybe even better, who has the technical functionality to get progressive passes, because that's something that Alvarez lacks. That's one thing.
Can I react to that quickly?
Secondly, can I add some second thing? Sorry.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Secondly, there is a reason why Alvarez has been put up for sale. Because it might be possible that Schreuder plays with a system where he doesn't need such a player. Maybe he needs other type of players. So it might be. I'm not saying it will be. I say it might be. Because otherwise Schreuder would say, let's keep him. There's a reason why this is happening. Right?
Just quickly, Ravish.
So I think the reason that Ajax is open for sale because Stade came last season and they wanted to offer 20 million. And after that period, Alvarez developed like crazy. But I agree with what Sahbi says. I believe there will be definitely a replacement for Alvarez. But the way of playing of Alvarez, you won't find a player who's that physical and so tough in the duels. And that's the point that Ajax and I have.
Maybe you don't need such a player. Maybe you don't need such a player. Maybe Schreuder doesn't need him. Maybe I don't know.
Well, maybe you do need some.
Yeah, but if you need to force something during a match, if we have with all respect, with Lily Potters playing on the pitch, he can force something, right? And that's my point. Against Asset, he was the one scored the equalizer.
Yeah,
And
but
then
as I said,
There were arguments. Yeah, go ahead, Juan. You want to say something?
Yeah. I just want
sorry.
to add something also to the equation. I mean, EyeJax already said that basically, but I want to give a bit more, like nuance to it as well. Don't forget that I'm going a little bit back, but we lost first Frankie and then lost to Schreuder. And up to the point that we got Alvarez in, we were struggling on that midfield to find a balance. I mean, that we have to be wary of. That's one. Second of all, I remember we bought Marine. We thought Marine was amazing.
Yeah.
And look how that evolved. And even beyond Marine, because that was pure for that position. But it's also, I mean, the scouting has work to be done. They have to do their work and they scout well, and we have to have faith in them. But it's also a little bit of a risk. There always will be risk when you get players in. I mean, look at Darami, look at Kudus. I mean, Kudus has so much potential, but if you look at the 2 years now, he had, I mean, of course, injuries and stuff. I understand all that, but still, you don't have guarantees when you bring a player into the squad. And in that regard, it's better to if you look at, we already lost Mazraoui, we lost Gravenberg, we're losing Haller. I think it would benefit the team not to lose too many first 11 players at this point. So a little drifting away a little bit from Alvarez specifically, but looking at not changing the dynamic of the team too much.
Can I react?
Sure.
Because I'm all for footballing-minded players in the team,
Yeah.
But you have to take into consideration, and Alfred Schreuder also mentioned it in his interview. We play 4-3-3. You can play with a double 8. You can play with a defensive kind of midfielder. You can play with a 10. But what he also said is we like to have attacking fullbacks who overlap, who also cut inside, and that the wingers go inside, and the wingbacks overlap. If you pay close attention to who keeps the balance within the team with all those situations, you had Gravenberg, who was always going to the goal. You had the attacking-minded midfielder, but when the backs went up front and made the tandem on the left and on the right side, Alvarez dropped back as a third defender. So you can have all those attacking-minded players and all those passing kind of players, but you have to have somebody that is aware of what is happening within the field, takes his position, and looks at the rest defense that is needed. And especially with some slower players, you need to have somebody who sees what is coming and drops back a bit. And that is what Alvarez is very good at. And you can just try to judge him always like he's not that great of a passer, but he evolved also in certain areas of his game. But that other area, the defensive area, that area that he reads the game defensively, he's very good at it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Yeah, Sabi, you can react in a bit. I remember last year, exactly a year ago, we had a discussion about Alvarez. The same discussion, actually. We're a year later, and actually he had a very good season, but we have the same discussion. I had it with David from Canada and Mark Gushwin from the US. And we were talking about Alvarez, and the fun part was, at a certain moment, I said, and it was very funny, and you can have it both ways. I said, if we had Alvarez in the team in 18-19, we wouldn't have lost against Spurs. But then David countered and told me, yeah, but if we had Alvarez, we wouldn't have made it to the semifinals. So it depends which side are you on,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, right?
But
What do you want to say?
No, I just want to react to what EyeJax stated. Yeah. But good point, by the way, Juan. But what I try to say is, I never said, at least if you mentioned it to me, I've never said we want attacking-minded players in midfield. I just stated that we need a technical footballer in midfield. So you can be a defensive midfielder as long as you have the technical functionality. A legend once told us, Johan Cruijff, the late Johan Cruijff, told us, a defensive midfielder doesn't have to be defensive-minded, because every good footballer can close the gaps. Every good footballer can interrupt the passing lines of the opponent. Every technical footballer can do that, as long as you have stamina to run. So if you have the technical footballer, I'm not saying we need to have him. I'm not saying we need to sell Alvarez. I'm just saying other options are good as well. You don't need to have the balance of an Alvarez in midfield if you have a a player with technical functionality who can like secure the midfield without attacking.
What you're saying,
We have to wrap it up. So just final comments on this one,
yeah,
please.
what you're saying does make sense, Safni, but remember, we already lost Gravenberch. If we sell Alvarez now for 30 million, we bank on him a little bit, then you have to almost re-establish your whole midfield, especially your two pivots in front of the defense. So you think it's a smart idea to bank on him now and like do a really big restructure of our two pivots in front of the defense? Is one not already difficult enough?
Yeah.
We have a new coach. So there will be a new idea either way. Players need to adapt either way. So,
but if you want to continue on what Ten Hag left behind for us, then you should play with Alvarez. And I while listening to you, Sahbi, I was thinking about Mascherano in the top time of Barcelona. Mascherano was also that kind of player who was, when everybody went to the box, that he wasn't like only on the world and everybody was looking around. Okay, I'm alone, but he was the one who backed up everybody. So
have you seen how technical he is?
Yeah,
I don't think he has that technical functionality which I'm talking about.
Yeah, but he was also a fighter, and I was looking at
he's a fighter, and that's what we need. That combination.
We have Alvarez.
You know, honestly,
technical. Alvarez technical.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. Honestly, we could also look at it differently, and I don't want to open this topic. Maybe we can talk about it another time because I want to move to the next subjects. But I mentioned this before, and I was thinking about that. We have two center backs that could be tried out in the position of Alvarez.
Yeah, I agree, but that is so much of a shuffle.
You have to redevelop that in your team. That's the whole thing.
Then we have another problem. Then we have to play with Blind or with Schreuder. Because we don't have anything else.
It brings but look, you take out. I mean, that's the whole question, right? You don't want to take out the two center backs because they have been amazing. But at the same time, I think either Timber or Martinez on the midfield brings that extra technical quality that we're talking about and has the grinta as well to make defensive tackles.
So
you don't want to take out the center.
Exactly. But one last thing, Juan. I want to do a Papimento kind of thing. I want to ask a question, a small one.
Go ahead.
Ten Hag already mentioned it in an interview. You mentioned it. Do you think Martinez and Timber would have performed as well without Alvarez in front of them?
No, he's part of it. He's part of it,
definitely.
Because they will do the last ditches and they will do the dirty stuff at the end as the last person before the keeper. But I do think we overlook what his part in a lot of stuff is also. So
I'm not overlooking. By the way, Juan, that option what you stated about a Timber or a Martinez in midfield, that might be an option. I would never do that, but that might be an option. But the consequence would be or might be that their value would decrease because a defensive midfielder who is playing very well in that position, even though you could say he has they can play multiple roles. I think the value would decrease because center backs and attackers are the players that bring.
I can counter you right now. I think Frankie sold for more than De Ligt.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, we're talking about Frankie. That's unique.
No, but in
general, you can get a Frankie, with 50 million for Alvarez. We get a technical player who can defend.
Quickly. I want to move to the next subject.
Yeah, I know. I think that if you need to choose between Martinez or Timber as the replacement of Alvarez, you should go for Timber. Because Timber has also the speed and the qualities to perform well at that position. But like Sahbi says, I wouldn't do it.
But to counter it, really quickly, Juan, before Martinez became a center back, Ten Hag played him a lot of matches at that position in the midfield. He did very well. Then all of a sudden, he benched him. And then he became the center back. So if you want somebody who really can do it and already proved it, Martinez was great at that position before he became a center back and before he was benched by Ten Hag. So if you have to choose one, Martinez will help you out there for sure.
Don't bring Schreuder.
No. It's done. We have to move to the next subject, guys. I know this is very interesting topic, but we talked about it for a long time. I just want to end this session, guys, talking about Haller moving. How do you see this sale? we have been talking about this in the channel. Like maybe if we cash in on Haller, we can reinforce the team. We know the targets are Brobbey and Bergwijn. At the same time, I want your opinion on maybe the fee. Do you guys agree? Do you guys think we may be selling him for a cheaper value than he's actually worth? And also, I want to move a little bit to, can we say now, or are we in a position now to say, guys, this is it? Because again, United with Ten Hag is heavily linked to Timber first, now to Anthony. Can we keep those players at our squad? Can Ten Hag with United really? Can we go through the summer without any of our players going to United? That's basically my question. Sahbi, you can answer this one.
Which one first, Haller or
whatever you want? You can start with Haller, or you can start with the players.
I think the sale of Haller of 35 million is acceptable. I mean, I already said the range between 35 and 40 would be good. So yeah, I can. For me, it's acceptable. It's a great deal, especially for Haller, who will earn 11 million at Dortmund. So it's a win-win situation for both of us. Ajax making good profit, Haller having a nice contract. So
I think it's a nice club as well. Let's be honest. It's a nice
club. And an attacking-minded club as well. So I'm totally happy for him. He did great. He did a great job for us, and he definitely deserves this transfer. With regards to the goals that he makes, I don't think we will see like a new top scorer at Ajax this coming season. My view is that we will have a lot of varieties of goal scorers because we have so many attackers, so many technically gifted attackers. Everybody can score a goal, so I think it will be like a bit divided between the whole squad, the attacking squad. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind.
Less dependent. Less dependent.
Exactly. I mean, everybody can score goals. From Iataren to Mountain Wine if he comes to. Tadic, you got Berghuis, you get Brobbey. So many flavors. I can't choose.
Okay. Right.
So, but with United and players, hell no, I don't think anybody will go to United, and it has mainly to do with the pricing. I mean, if the Timber is a no-go, Martinez most likely no-go. You have Anthony, which is being heavily linked at this moment with United. And according to rumors, according to what Verwijs said, 70 million, 80 million, they will never pay for that because they are already in discussion for Frenkie de Jong. They don't have like such a big budget to only bank on two players if they bought Anthony and Frenkie. So it would be too much from them. And it's a way of Ajax saying they're not for sale because otherwise they would never put a sale like this. So no, they will stick. I'm sorry, United fans. You will get disappointed. Please look somewhere further. Perhaps go for that other Brazilian of Leeds United. He might be an option, Rafinha. But leave our guys alone.
EyeJax, I want to ask you another thing, right? A little bit more dimension to the same question, basically. I want you to answer the question, but I also want to tell you that the feeling I get also from United, I mean, compared to the other teams right now, they're behind, right? They are still trying to sign like a signature player this summer. At the end of the day, big clubs like United, they have to satisfy their fans, in the transfer window. So the only thing I'm afraid of is if it continues like this, they will do like, you know what, screw it, I'll just pay 50 million for Martinez or 60 million for Timber. Aren't you a little bit like hesitant towards that scenario, that they come a little bit late in the transfer window and they still come up with that fee?
If H2 does their work properly, the fee will increase the longer the period is. The longer it is towards the end of the period, because maybe it's now 50-60 million for Martinez, but if it's with 1 week left and you have to get a quick successor for him, it's 70 million. Easy as that. And a lot of fans of United are making comments that we are a selling club, but we can be sure of one thing: they're not a buying club. So, if they want to buy our players because we're a seller club, then they have to pay for it. Simple as that. We are not doing them any favors. Yes, there is a link between the clubs with Edwin van der Sar, with our coach going there, but it doesn't mean that we are the Lidl, that they can just buy whatever they want at the price. What do you think? It's a business, it's a football club. We're still making money and they're worth something, the players. So, yes, maybe they will sign a player from us. and we have to be ready for it to have a shadow list and have a successor ready. But the longer it takes, the more expensive it gets, in my opinion. And to get back to your question, Juan, about Haller, I think it's perfect that he left now for 35 million. I was hoping for 40, but 35 will do. Why? It's a great transfer for Haller. You can go to the club that we kicked their ass like 2 times at the Champions League last season and do it for them this time. You know, great club, nice philosophy, but it's a downgrade for me. Probably a lot of Dortmund fans will be mad me saying this, but still, he is going to earn a lot of money there. 11 million, you cannot say no to this. So it's an opportunity for him, and it's an opportunity for our club to bank on his transfer because he was the most expensive incoming transfer up until now for our club. We're banking on him, and he's not going to have a better season than he's had the last season, in my opinion. He's not going to score 11, 12 goals again in the Champions League and explode like the way he did. And also within in our competition, he did well, but he also has a lot of flaws, Juan, and we talked about this before. I'd rather have a Robbie up front that can hold the ball, that has some speed, that has the Ajax identity, and can make players around him play a little bit better also, than somebody that can tap in well, you know, but is more on the ground than winning duels. Is not that capable of handling the ball great, you know. He also always needs an extra touch or he loses the ball. I'd rather see what Sarbi says in first 11 that can score and is unpredictable. Everybody can score a goal, and there's a flow within the team that anybody can be the finisher of the team, you know. And to be a little bit more in depth, Juan, I do not think we need another striker. If we get Robbie and we get Bergwijn, then we're done.
Because it's interesting. It's interesting. I just want to throw also like today, or like just recently, news came like also from Telegraaf that we're looking at Zierikzee as a second option, and he would be from Bayern Munich. He was loaned out to Anderlecht.
Yeah.
Anderlecht, sorry, yes. And then he would cost like 10 million, a little bit more than 10 million. How do you guys view that? And I will come to Ravish in a bit about the previous question, but I just want a quick reaction on that as well.
So I think it's a difficult situation. It's the Belgian competition. He played 36 matches this year. He scored 16 goals and had 9 assists. So that's pretty proper for stats wise, you know, for his first season. So yeah, he maybe can do something. But for me, you do not want to have an overload of players. If you have Brobbey, that will be your number one. Or he plays with Tadic up front. Those two can do it well, differently, but well. And Bergwijn can also play as a striker. So you already have 3 players. And maybe somebody from the academy this year or maybe next year that can be the 4th or something, that can learn a little bit already. You know, you have to look at your own players also. I cannot give you a name who's ready already, but just fuel your possibilities from the youth academy also, and make them train with the club and get a little bit of experience already. So for me, Zierikzee, it's a little bit too much if you get Robbie and Bergwijn also.
Okay, Ravish, same question to you, the previous question, and also Zierikzee opinion. But the only thing I want to ask you a little bit towards Martinez. The thing with Martinez is we have 2 clubs looking at him, not only United but also Arsenal. Does this make us more nervous? Does it make you more nervous in that sense?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's a compliment for Ajax that Manchester United and Arsenal are looking at our players. But I'm not nervous that he will leave the club. I'm happy to go further on your question for Haller. I'm really happy for him that he can make a transfer like this. He was important for us, score the goals that we were seeking. And now it's a good time to sell him because, like EyeJax said, he won't ever hit 10 goals again in the group stage of the Champions League. What will
you do if he hits 10 goals with Dortmund this season?
Then I would applaud for him. Then he showed to the world that he is the striker of quality. But I think it was like 18-19. It was a unique season for him, and I hope for him that he can repeat it all in a small amount of goals. But
you mean last season was unique? Last season was unique.
Yeah, last season, that he can have a good season like he has with us. Yeah. But for 11 million, where can I sign? If I could get an offer like that, I would sign directly. And then what was the other question about
Zierikzee?
Zierikzee. I was surprised because also a young guy. I would say I would prefer some more experienced striker instead of Zierikzee. Zierikzee could be good for the business model. If you buy him for 10 and maybe if you have a good season, you can sell him for 20 or 25 because every player of Ajax goes for an amount like that. But I would prefer a more experienced striker because I think the experience we're gonna need in the Champions League. And with Brobbey and Zierikzee, good strikers, but I don't think that's enough to impress on Champions League level.
Yeah. Finally, Zahri, I want also your reaction on Zierikzee. I just want to add to that. Like, do you think also as an argument, Zierikzee went to Anderlecht to get playing time? If he comes to Ajax, how much playing time will he get?
Do you really want to be serious in answering this
Yeah,
question?
no, but that's why, because
No.
I'm throwing
No.
this to make. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me in that regard, to
Yeah,
pay more
exactly.
money for a player like that.
It doesn't make sense to me as well. I mean, I can be very short on this. I totally agree with EyeJax. Period. We
About
don't need
About what
we-
exactly?
that we don't need to have a striker at all, let alone Zierikzee, for which we have to pay 10 million. I mean, if we get Mountain Wine and we get Brobbey, it's sufficient. We got Brobbey who can play in the striker position. We got Brobbey who can play in the striker position. We got Tadic who can play in the striker position if needed. And we got the youth academy, 1 or 2 players who can try to play if none of those first 3 players are available. So why investing 10 million for a striker who might not even play a lot? So I would rather invest that 10 million. Sorry?
And Zahri, I can make it even more appealing for you. The 10 million we save on Zierikzee, we can buy that available Frankie kind of defensive player who can pass the ball,
Here you go. Here you go.
Available for us, and we can ditch Alvarez all at the same time.
No.
10 million, man. We can have the next Frankie de Jong for it, man.
No, but
Zierikzee also has height. I think that's also he's a different kind of striker than a Brobbey and a
but
Tadic.
when will you play him? If we already have so many flavors, when will you play him?
Will Brobbey play every match 90 minutes? And is he fit enough?
No, probably not. But then you have Bergwijn who could play, and Tadic on the left and Anthony on the right. There are so many flavors. So why putting in a player who costs so much? Yeah,
we always have.
Nah,
we have
but-
always.
Yeah, but we
sometimes
also
during the
yeah, but
season
we also
cover.
need to rely.
Do you want Danilo at the club? That
Sorry?
really striker. Do you want another Danilo as a backup at the club?
Bro, Danilo went to Feyenoord, bro.
Yeah.
Deadly a striker, bro. Be careful.
Serious.
Come on, man. We're in
No,
trouble.
but listen, I think. Sorry, Safi, to interrupt your story, but
No, go
I
ahead.
think that H2, I think they also have a plan with what they want to do with Ajax for coming season, and it might be that even Overmars, when he was the director, was also working on Zierikzee. Who would say? And what
Yeah,
would
but-
what would direction then will
Yeah,
be?
but that was before probably Brobbey came into to place. It's difficult, but what I try to say is Zierikzee played all those matches with Anderlecht last season. I mean, can you already say or predict that he will play that many games for Ajax? I mean, he wants playing time. That was his objective. If he wants to go to a club, he wants to a club where he gains playing time. He won't get that at Ajax.
What if you factor in the fact that we mentioned this before? Brobbey hasn't showed that he can play a lot of games consecutively till this point, and we have Tadic. I mean, he's a monster. Let's be honest. But there will be a moment, and we don't know when that moment will be, that we should rest him a little bit more.
Yeah, but then we got other players like Bergwijn, Mountain Wine, who can play. There were so many flavors. You have 3 players who can play that position. The only reason why I would think about a third striker, if I had to choose one, it should be a player who accepts not playing a lot and who could be a pinch hitter, like a tall player, so we can force
That's what I
something.
mentioned before. That's
Yeah,
an experience.
but he doesn't. Yeah, but Zierikzee won't accept a role where he would sit on the bench and only comes in where they're 1-0 behind. Because we're Ajax, we won't be. There won't be a lot of matches where we will be 1-0 behind.
Yeah, okay, I got that. But I think why you could consider Zierikzee, the World Cup is coming in November, and who knows how a player will return from the tournament. how the physical will be.
This is
And then,
actually, I just want to. This is very good. I just want to. This is the last part. I just want to add this as well because Ravish is making a very good point. This season is a little bit different than normal,
Yeah.
right? It's very congested, and also there's a World Cup in the middle of the season, so you don't know how things will pan out. You don't know how many players we will need and how the team will react in terms of injuries and how many games we're playing. So in that sense, it makes. I mean,
You got a
it's
winter
good
break, right? You got a winter break, right?
Yeah, and not only that one, you know that Tadic is always fit. If you learn one thing, Tadic is always fit. So I have to stick up for Sabri here. We have a lot of wingers that can easily replace if Bergwijn needs to play as a striker or Tadic needs to play as a striker. We still have a lot of wingers within our club that can play that position. So I rather play those wingers at that position and then sacrifice or a Tadic or a Bergwijn as a striker. And it's not even sacrificing because they can be of added value. But we still have some players left that can play on the wing. So you can just shuffle it around, man.
I understand. I totally get that, Ajax. But we all saw what happened in the last matches of last season when suddenly all our best players fell out with the injury, and then we didn't have a good backup. So it's what Juan said. It will be a different season with a different way of working because you have a World Cup coming, and you have certain. If Bergwijn is coming to Ajax, we have a Berghuis, we have a Tadic who's. I think Tadic is also going to the World Cup, right? Or not? Yeah. So a lot of our players will be acting in Qatar. You have a different climate over there. You have a different way of playing football over there, and coming back to Europe without a small vacation, because I think the winter break will be real short. I think, and then you need to continue. And if you're also qualifying for the next stage of the Champions League, you will have you need the squad that is almost fit. And we can't predict what will happen.
No, exactly. We can't predict. But as you said, World Cup is coming. If something happens, you got the winter break, the transfer window, where you can act upon. That's why there is a transfer window. You can act on things that happens. If you need an additional striker because Brobbey is injured, you get one. You might get Zierikzee because you know he will play more since Brobbey is injured. If Timber gets injured, you know you will have to buy or loan a defender. That's how it works. But at this moment, it's just wasting 10 million on the bench at this moment. If we would buy them, there are too many. There's a lot of competition. He won't win from Brobbey. He won't win from Tadic. He won't win from Bergwijn. So it will be his loss for not playing, and it would be our loss because his value will decrease. So simple is.
Amen.